Hi guys, and welcome to a new Let's Play for my channel. It's gonna be for the mod Fall from Heaven 2 for Civilization 4. This is probably still, today even, one of my favourite turn-based strategy games I've ever played. You know, I never really got into the later Civs. After Civ 4 they seem to kind of downgrade things a bit. This one is for the Beyond the Sword expansion pack, which kind of like really expanded the base Civ 4 game, and then Kyle and all the other modders that worked on this mod just made something quite unique and magical. You know, we're basically talking a whole free game here that transformed, you know, the base Civ 4 Beyond the Sword game into its complete own thing. I know Carl later went to work on was it Enchantress, Fallen Enchantress from Stardock. I played that too. You know, it's a very, very decent strategy game. Some parts of it I'd really love to see in Fall from Heaven, like the, you know, the very detailed character customization. But for basically a turn-based strategy game, you know, with a big whole world conquest model to it, Fall from Heaven 2 has a fantastic upgrade path for all the units. It's just fantastic. You create your hero unit. You know, each civilization has a particular hero unit, or a couple of them maybe. And they become incredibly powerful to the game, and just a lot of fun to play with. So I'm gonna see how it's gonna go. I did try a test game, and I put all of the factions in the game, and it kind of brought up one of Civ 4's main failings, which is that the turns get very long. You know, the AI turns, that is. So like later in the game, if you've got quite a few kind of like AI and stuff like that, the computer just takes a hell of a time just, I think, probably moving all the units around. You can mitigate it a little bit, which I'll talk through as we set stuff up here. But we're gonna go for it. So we're gonna go single player, and then we're gonna build a custom game. And what I'll do is I'm going to start down here in the options. I'm going to create a world that has raging barbarians and is a barbarian world. The reason I do this, it can sometimes kill you off very early, which is bad. But depending on the situation you find yourself in, maybe you're stuck on an island somewhere, and there's a way of maybe controlling an AI Civ that's kind of getting ahead too quick. This sort of slows everybody down a bit at the beginning, and most importantly provides good XP for your units, because you're constantly battling kind of barbarian hordes. You know, you just have to play more careful. And it fits the world setting to me. We've just come out of this kind of Ice Age cataclysm that kind of pretty much destroyed everything. The human races are rising up from scattered bands, and it, particularly for the world of Fall from Heaven, it just seems nice that it would be possessed by uncivilized kind of creatures. So this is what this represents. We're also going to do the challenge End of Winter, which basically just makes everything a bit colder, which will warm up over time. You know, we're coming out of the Age of Ice, so that would seem nice to me. This one I always like. You know, particularly if you're in like a tight war with other AI and stuff like that. It kind of seems fair that if you've got like a big established city with its own culture, and you know, it knew what emperor it belonged to, that if it was then taken by force, it has a chance of like flipping back and basically saying, hey, no, we want to stay with the guys we were previously. So just seems like a natural thing to me. No technology broking, I do that. You can't really stop like technology sharing, and it's a way that the AI keeps up with you, the human player. But I try and slow it down a little bit by ensuring that you can only trade the text that you've actually learnt yourself rather than ones you've traded. Yeah, it makes a slight difference, so I always put that in. New random seed on reload. I generally do that because at some point in the game I'm going to have to make a really hard decision, and it could determine the outcome of my game, and it's just a shame to like basically have a game go bad and you kind of have to give up on it. So this just gives us a chance that if we load back our save game, I can try something again or try something different, and just avoid a sort of a no-win situation that will end the game. I don't use it often, but it's just an option, so I like to have that in there. Wildlands, I like having a world that has more creatures in them. Makes it kind of dangerous, a bit like with the barbarians. They can kind of combine to make it a scary place for these new civilizations to emerge in. I like putting all the unique features in. Not all the unique features were sadly kind of finished in Fall from Heaven 2. I've been meaning to get around and try and mod stuff in myself on those, but I just like seeing them. It's just such a cool flavour. Like the whole mod is like just awesome, and that is a really nice feature to see all these like weird little places and things that they built and put in the game. And then I think I'm happy with everybody there. So that's our basic setup. I'll talk a little bit over here. I've had games where these three options can happen like pretty quick, depending on how far ahead like somebody is. You know, conquest and domination, that's tough. You know, you've basically got to like militarily beat everybody into the ground, which, yeah, I don't think I've ever played a game through where that's happened. I keep one get out clause, and that's the Altar of the Lunter, just because it takes such a long time to build it finally, and you've got to go all the way through the tech tree. So that's a like, okay, I really don't want to go through the hassle of like mopping everybody up, so that's a get out of jail kind of card. I'm going to use smart map. I'm going to use huge world size. I like big worlds. You know, we have 4 to 12 continents. This can depend on how many opponents you're going to be playing against. I'm not quite sure yet. I did try a trial game where I had every single civilization from Fall from Heaven on the game, and really after about 200 turns, my computer was struggling to keep up with the AI turns, so it was starting to take a long time. There's quite a lot of customization on Smart Map. I would say the main thing I like is this option, somewhat round, some fragments. Kind of gives it a natural-esque look for the Smart Map algorithm, so I quite like that one. I'll probably stick with that for now. I think that's the most, isn't it? Yeah, random 4 to 12. Yeah. So we'll see how many people are going to put in. I'm going to go and play a specific one. We are going to be... where are they? I've gone past them. Hold on. We're going to be a neutral civilization. Mostly I play Dane the Caswalan. That's one of my favourite ones to play. I sometimes quite like playing as Sharadon. Many of you start with a hero unit, Lucius, and so that's quite fun. And usually what I do with that is I'll pick a religion that makes me neutral as opposed to kind of evil. But I haven't really fully played a game through as either Tazunki or Roanna before, and I just thought I'd do that for this one. We'll pick her because her kind of picture looks better. She's got that cool chainmail suit on and stuff. So yeah, I've never really played these guys before, so yeah, you know, we're meant to be sort of mercenary horse lords or something like that. I might change that story a little bit as we're going through, because you know, this is the founding of the civilization, so we may end up being a bit less mercenary than our kind of backstory makes us, but we'll see. So we're neutral. We're sort of like plains people, I guess. You know, we love our horses and stuff. Now then, let's see how this pans out. So I'm going to pick random leaders for all the other factions. So that will be basically 2 neutral, 2 good, 2 evil. Now, this kind of setup might be a problem in that it might be too finely balanced on the good side of things. You know, neutral civilizations, depending what religion they might pick up, are more likely to kind of lean towards the good than they are the evil, I think. So, you know, that basically gives a higher likelihood of 4 good civilizations versus 2 evil, which is a bit unbalanced. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick another evil leader there, and then 7, and we're going to mix it up. I'm going to do 1 good one, 1 evil. So we've got 3 good, 4 evil, 2 neutral. That could work. And then we're going to close off the other ones. I mean, 9 AI. It could become a problem. We'll give it a go. So that's us all set. So let's launch. The first bit is always the hardest bit. What I'm going to do, the very first thing I'm going to do, before I move any units, before I, you know, talk too much about the map I've got, is I'm basically going to save the game, because at the beginning stages you have an option to regenerate the map, and really this is, for me, probably the thing I've, you know, I love Civ4 way beyond kind of all the other turn-based strategy games, particularly with, you know, with good mods. But one thing it's always, I felt, being quite poor at is the maps. It just, you know, it's really difficult to generate or find yourself in a nice situation, and you can often tell from the beginning of the game, you know, whether or not you're going to have a chance to like be one of the top civs, or you're going to be like right at the bottom for most of the game. And usually you can tell that from right at the beginning. Here we go, a great intro. I will play this because we'll see it once, it's awesome. Here we go. And I'll do a little speech. The Age of Ice has ended. What was left of the empires of Cerberus have formed into small tribes ready to rebuild and retake that which was lost. Those are my guys there. But the world is not empty. Hordes of barbarians and darker creatures await those new civilizations. Yeah, hordes of barbarians is about right. I mean, I really love, you know, look at those wolves. It's not like animated as such, it's just beautifully composited still shots, and the music. Yeah, there is great evil. Just fantastic artwork. Yeah, Keelan. She's so bad. Oh yeah. But also selfless good. Those who owe no loyalty to good or evil. Yeah, so David as well, that's usually what I play. The first goal is survival. And the expressions on those faces just tell it all. The second goal is power, for good or ill. Will you pursue power through strength of arms? Through arcane studies? Through piety? Through blasphemy? Path you will meet allies, bitter foes, and the deeper you delve into the secrets of combat or sorcery or the divine, the harder it will be to turn back. Choose carefully. For my money, one of the great intros. No animation, just fantastic music, great images. Yeah, hats off to the Fall from Heaven 2 team for that. Okay, so here we are. Yeah, like I said, I picked Roanna just because the image is really cool. This sort of like chainmail suit and stuff, it's really good. So we start with agriculture. Yeah, okay, I guess that's just so I can get closer to animal husbandry for my horse units. Hero is Magdalene. Oh yeah, I think I've come across him. He's pretty cool. The age of ice is ended and fertile lands are newly exposed by retreating sheets of ice. The glory of the age of magic is long past, and the Hippus people set forth to build a civilization to recapture that lost knowledge. Kot, your people have vested absolute power in you, trusting you to lead them into the next stage, the age of rebirth. And just a note, it picks it up because that's the name of my computer. So whatever. Continue. Now then, this is the bit. It says auto-saving, but I never find the auto-save. I think I turned it off. But what I'm going to do now is I am going to do an actual save. And we are going to call it LP start for the Let's Play start, mainly just so I don't lose track of it. So we'll save that, and I'm going to have not going to move anybody. I'm just going to look around. What do we think? It's got potential, hasn't it? It doesn't look like I'm on a tiny island. There seems to be some connections. Yeah, I think this could do. There's some resources around. I'm kind of eyeing this hill over here. Is that a floodplain? It is. So that we can put a farm on there and get a bit of extra thing. And then that would... It's got access to fresh water, so that would allow me to develop that and irrigate it. Sugar will make my people happy, as we all know. So I think I'll go with this. One other thing to note is you may notice the colours of my flags are not what was expected for the Hippus people. Usually it's a very light bright green with a dark kind of stylized horse image. I found the colour a little bit too distracting, a little bit too bright. So what I did is I just simply swapped the flag colour around between the Hippus and the elves. You know, we both had kind of green flags, so I just think this is a little bit easier on the eye, so I went with the darker green background. So that's why it might look a bit different. We're not elves, we're humans, and we worship horses. I think I'm gonna start heading in the direction to do my first city. Up on that hill. And probably what I'm going to have to do, that's exposed quite a lot around us. I mean, there's a lot of fertile land here. These are all floodplains down here. So that'll be pig and rice. Yeah, I think we've got some potential. So I'm going to end turn. I don't get to pick anything yet because I haven't actually founded a city. Travellers speak of a mighty dragon who wants to make Nininstal his lair. So that'll be a barbarian city spawning a dragon. I'm going to found a city right here. So, Elthariol Tamithiel. Interesting sounding name. And really it's nearly always, pretty much always, except for maybe later in the game, but first thing is defense. So I build a palisade. I'm also going to fortify my scout inside that city until the warrior turns up, just in case. We get to pick our first thing. Now we've already got agriculture, so I can build farms. I see I've got cows right there. So to some extent I kind of role play some options. So to me it would make sense that my people are in this, we founded our city, we sort of know the surroundings, we can see there's some cattle out there that we could maybe domesticate and farm. So I'm going to pick that as my first choice. I think it will also reveal horses on the map, which will be useful for our next kind of city when we get doing that. Okay, end turn. I have nothing to see yet, so we're going to carry on as we were. Okay, now he's going to just sit tight. 1, 2... So 3 turns we're going to get through really quick. Just to get the warrior in place. In fact, he can go now. Should be safe, so let's see what we got. Are we lucky? Not particularly. 42 gold. Kind of one of those sort of like slightly rubbish goodie hut results, but it's money. Did I see another one? Okay, there's one down here. And over here? No. Okay. It looks like a decent sized continent, which kind of means there's going to be someone somewhere. We don't know. Yeah, I don't know what that means. I'm just going to have a little look. Yeah, okay, fortify, yes please. Okay, it's a very mountainous area. It's kind of like... It could become defensive. If I was willing to sacrifice a city and sort of make it like a very slow, sort of unproductive sort of city. You know, I could... So there's some sheep there. You know, if I did put a city there, it would pretty much control the path through these mountains. So... At some point that might be an option. I'd want to do that as late as possible because, like I said, it wouldn't be a very productive city. You know, too many dead tells with the mountains. We'll probably go around with our scout, I think. Okay, well, it's goodie hut, so we'll head in that direction. Always nice to see. Okay, so the big dragon, Sharon, has moved into that barbarian city. Ah, there's our first barbarian. Okay, not far from the city. I mean, I'm safe. Like, my people will do like kind of the Celtic peoples, and we mostly build on hills, so that gives us a little bit of a bonus defense as well. A map, that to me is, yeah, maybe at this early stage of the game it's actually not that bad an option. In fact, it was a huge map. Okay, thank you very much. So I can see a couple more goody huts. That warrior seemed to come down from, I reckon, from that barbarian city there. But we're going to head in this direction. I've got the icons on at the moment for all the resources, so I can see what's around me. And we're just going to be going down, picking up some goody huts. Is that one too far? I think I'll just go and check that goody hut over there. It's a bit of a slog. Now then, let's see. I kind of feel like it's too far away, that goody hut. Okay, because I sort of want to do a loop and come back around. I think one of the options I've got on the game is for quick combat. You know, and there's no. I think we'll see now. If this guy just simply disappears. Oh, okay. Well, it's giving me a chance to get a good 86 gold. That's a better haul. Okay, well, I don't know what he's doing. He's just eyeing up the defences. Okay, well, my scout still has a move. Fine. So we've got a bit of gold. Yeah, okay, so what you saw there was when the barbarian attacked, there was no combat animation. The reason I do that is to kind of try and help the speed of the AI turns. So it's a little bit distracting sometimes, because, like, you know, there'll be, if there's like a stack of 4 of them, they'll just suddenly disappear one turn. But you know, you get the readout, and you know if if they've taken your city or not. But it does, you know, it does just help speed the game up a little bit, which is Civ 4's Achilles heel, admittedly. So let's go down here. Oh, ages ago now, I had a conversation with Soren Johnson, who was the lead kind of programmer for Civ 4 and designer, and he admitted to me that actually, in hindsight, he'd wish he'd picked Lua instead of Python for kind of building Civ 4 with, just because Lua is a much faster kind of script-based language to use, so the game would have been quicker. And that brings up another interesting point about kind of myself and my history with Civ. I think Civ 1 was probably the first PC game I ever played, and it wasn't on my PC, it was on a friend's PC. I had like, I think at the time I had, crikey, I might have even been on an old 8-bit computer, I think an Atari 800 or something. Later I got an Amiga, and I got Civ for that. Civ 2 never came out on the Amiga, and at some point around that time I'd sort of transitioned to PC. But, you know, it's always been one of those... Okay, so this will spawn barbarians for us later. Civ's always been one of those kind of games that, you know, if I've had PCs, then I've wanted to have Civ around. And for my money, Civ 4, especially with Beyond the Sword expansion. It's been the best Civ game that's ever been made, and I would, I have a feeling that it's gonna stay the best Civ game that was ever made. A lot has changed in how games are made these days, and they're sort of using DLC stuff to like get more money, all this kind of thing, and sort of designing games to have less content that you then add on with DLCs. It's sort of, that's kind of a norm now. And ultimately what that means is when a game comes out, you could be waiting, for the kind of games that have those DLC expansions, you can be waiting 3-5 years until you actually have a complete game with all the systems kind of built in that, for example, in the Civ franchise, Civ 4 comes with by default, as long as you have the expansion packs. So I'm not a fan of that whole transition in the games industry. I think it's definitely slowed down my purchasing of games, because I just wait now. I know that when a new game comes out, chances are there's going to be some DLC down the line, and I'm going to want that. So I'm not going to have a lesser game experience now when I've got plenty of great games like this, for example, to play in the meantime. So yeah, I don't know about it as a strategy, but for me it definitely changes my buying habits of games. So I think Civ 4 is as good as it's going to get in terms of Civ. And then going back to little chats, actually sort of in the interim, so between when I first got PC, and I think it was Civ 2 I had then, in the time between Civ 2 and the next thing, I kind of like jumped ship and I went with the Call to Power games. I know a lot of like hardcore Civ fans just didn't like those games. I thought they were kind of a bit of a rip-off in some ways, but I thought they were fantastic, and I really enjoyed Call to Power 2, and I was involved heavily in the modding with that. And what's nice about this, to bring this whole story to fruition, is I really liked some of how they used kind of a religion in Call to Power 2. They were sort of like, it wasn't defined religions as we have now in Civ 4, but we modded stuff into Call to Power 2 over on the Apolitan.net forums, and a couple of the guys, I think, who worked on that whole modding effort for Call to Power 2 ended up working on the Beyond the Sword expansion for Civ 4, and managed to introduce like a really good system of religions into Civ, like a more natural feeling, like how the real world is. I always found it weird that kind of religion was completely not touched in these games when it dealt with like many other things, but religion is such a kind of fundamental identity of many civilizations through history, and if you're a student of history, you know that. So it was weird that for some reason it was completely absent in a game like Civ. I understand, Civ is an American game, and I know that the Americans are a bit kind of, they're kind of into their god and all that kind of stuff, aren't they? So maybe that was part of it. Maybe there's some sort of discomfort kind of dealing with the fact that, there isn't just one religion in the world, and it might not be the one that you follow is actually the oldest, and all that kind of stuff. But I thought the way Civ 4 Beyond the Sword kind of handled all that, it brought a lot of kind of reality, and an actual really nice game dynamic to the game that was missing previously. That whole sort of tension between the religions became a really good dynamic, and like Fall From Heaven 2 just takes that and times it like 1,000 and puts it in this like crazy world of like absolute evil and absolute good, and it just works absolutely perfectly in this scenario. So we're doing end turn. Sorry for the little gossip there. Okay, so we're still exploring around. Let's go up here. I don't think there was anything. Yeah, there's not going to be much there. I can't get to these resources because they're cut off by the mountain. So we'll bring him around and go north. We've nearly got our palisade in place. Now then, what do I build next? That's the question. I'm acutely aware of the barbarian city up there. Oh, that palisade, I thought it was going to be done then. And maybe if I go on this lighthouse, it will reveal a bit. Okay, so 13 turns for a warrior. That kind of seems too long, doesn't it? Because I'm slightly concerned that the speed of growth of my city might become a problem, and I might end up with unhappy status, which means I lose one of my currently happy workers, so that becomes less productive. Now if I get a worker out, we've got animal husbandry in 2, so he'll be able to set up a farm there. I'll be able to farm these. I won't be able to irrigate that, but I can farm it. I'll irrigate that later when I have the tech. But we've got these fertile places. Production seems to be the issue. I mean, I think the cows will give me some production. Yeah, so I'm going to do that. Normally I would build another warrior just to be sure, but I'm on a hill. I've got one defensive unit. I've got my palisade built. It's so tricky, because I know just how lethal it can be. 13 turns. Oh goodness. Okay, I'm going to go safety first because it's our only city. Gonna get that second warrior up. Possibly I might go to size 5, which is fine. I think it's like around 6 or 7 when it starts to become an issue. So we'll get the extra warrior in, then we'll do a worker. He's going to explore that. And okay, so we get occasional skeletons from there. Wow, that's very flat land, isn't it? I really hope that I have some horses somewhere once animal husbandry is found. Yeah, so I think that's going to be our plan, is we're going to get a warrior, then get a worker, and then I might be looking at a settler depending on what's available. So let's end turn. Up the mountain. Ooh. Now it should be okay, yeah, if there's just one barbarian on one of these places, they'll stay put. It's when they spawn a second one, that's when that second one shifts. So my scouts should be fine. Ah, horses, I saw them. Animal husbandry. Yeah. The only issue with that is it's 39 turns, which is a bit too long. That kind of leads me towards getting my religions and stuff. Fishing we don't need to worry about for now. Hunting 50 turns is way off. Crafting. I mean, yeah, I'm torn between ancient chants or crafting right at this moment. So I think I'm going to go with ancient chants for now. We're going to move him down there. Let's have a look. So I've got one horse to the north next to that barbarian thing. That isn't a great spot, depending on what's... in fact, that's the edge of the barbarian city. So that's really not useful for me at the moment, which is unfortunate. Any more? Like one down here would be great. Ah, okay. Alright. Interesting. So this city isn't going to have this sugar directly, because it's outside of its kind of frame, which is roughly where the green line is right now. But if I put a city on there, I mean, it's mostly a bit naff, but you know, it's not the greatest site, but it gives me access to the sea, which is useful for sea-based units. If this little island was over here, if these two were there, then this would be a complete ideal spot for a city, because I'd have the rice there. But it is. So we're gonna have to sacrifice something. But I need the horse, so I'm gonna. When I get round to it, that will probably be my second city source. They'll have direct access to the sugar for happiness. Do I need that? I need calendar. So that's worth keeping in mind. I have the horse, which is like one of my main kind of military units. Yeah, and down here, yeah, I mean, that might not be bad. Yeah, it's not sea, it's lake, so not so important. And that would get the corn as well. Obviously that'll be like third city, but definitely that's going to have to be my second city, just to get the horse online, and then the happiness from the having sugar as resources is probably going to be useful. We're building our warrior, so I think we're there at the beginning. I think we've settled, we've explored a bit. My scout's still alive. We've got our second city kind of scoped out. We've got our horse scoped out. It's a good spot. I'm kind of happy with that. So we will leave it there, and we will carry on next time. Thanks for viewing, and I will see you next time. Bye, guys.